Kia ora. I'm Murph. I'm the scientist and lecturer here at the BHU, and today we're talking about the revolution in soil health. And so over the last 15 to 20 years, there's been a revolution in how our understanding of soil organic matter is formed, and therefore the drivers of soil health. So under the old paradigm, stuff died, we put compost manure onto the soil, little organisms broke it up, and it was then decomposed by microbes, fungi, bacteria, back into inorganic compounds. We used to think that the simple compound sugars, proteins, fats, lipids decomposed really quickly. The more complex stuff, polymers like cellulose, decomposed in weeks to years. And then the really tough stuff, the woody, the lignified material, took centuries to millennia and became humus. And that's defined as organic matter that's recalcitrant. It resists further decay. And we now know that this is only part of the story. So this diagram here on the left-hand side, the old model's not entirely wrong because clearly dead stuff ends up on soil. It's broken up by little organisms, and then the microbes get in and decompose it. This material is now only part of the story. This is referred to as particulate organic matter, or POM by its acronym. And even the tough woody stuff doesn't last very long. It's decomposed in a few years to a few decades at most. And humus, in terms of this recalcitrant organic matter, simply doesn't exist. When we now look at soil directly with new technologies such as synchrotrons, humus can't be found. It's an artifact of the chemical alkali extraction methods used last century. So our new understanding, the new discoveries are over here on the right-hand side. Plants put out through their roots between 10 to 40% of the photosynthetes they make from sunlight. And these are simple compounds, mostly sugars, but also proteins and fats that we used to think decomposed really quickly. And these feed a vast density and diversity of microbes, bacteria, and fungi that live around the plant roots. These return the favor by providing the plant with nutrients, water, and protection from pests and pathogens. Different plant species produce different exudates that feed different microbes. Indeed, plants can even change the exudates they make when they need help from particular microbes, for example, mycorrhizal fungi when it's going dry. And the 10 to 40% of photosynthesis is therefore also the total amount, therefore, depends on how big the plants are. The more above ground foliage and leaf they have, the more photosynthesizing they can do, and therefore the more exudates they can make and the more microbes they can feed. So this is fundamentally the start of the soil ecosystem, and this is the primary place where soil biology, soil ecosystem gets its energy from, the root exudates. These microbes are then consumed, they consume each other, they're consumed by bigger things such as amoeba, and this energy and these nutrients turn over through the soil ecosystem and eventually end up as tiny little fragments of organic matter inside the mineral particles of the soil, particularly inside clays. And this is now called mineral-associated organic matter with the acronym MAOM. 80% of soil organic matter is formed from plant root exudates. This is also now the form of soil organic matter that we know lasts centuries to millennia, not because it's some funny way resistant to further decay, but because it's in such a tiny space that even the smallest microbes, the bacteria, cannot get at them, and therefore they're effectively in a sterile environment. So what this model is telling us is effectively we have our view of plants back to front, you know, the kind of high school explanation of plants. They take up water and nutrients through their roots. They then use that to build their foliage and their leaves, and they use their leaves for capturing sunlight. That's partially true. Plants capture sunlight, but they're also taking carbon dioxide and oxygen directly out of the atmosphere. All their carbon comes via this roots because most carbon compounds are not soluble, so cannot be taken up by the roots. And plants are 45% carbon and another 45% oxygen and a smattering of hydrogen at 6%. As plants are also getting their carbon and oxygen out of the atmosphere, this means most of the biomass of plants actually comes out of the atmosphere, not out of the ground. So they take that energy from sunlight, the carbon dioxide, the oxygen, They combine those together to make the simple carbohydrates, the sugars, and then they pump those into the ground to feed that vast density and diversity of microbes. So what this is telling us is that if we want to maximize soil organic matter formation, the feed the microbes in the soil, the microbiology in the soil ecosystem, we need to maximize the density and diversity of living roots. And that comes from having the most diverse flora, mixtures of plants we have, and allow them to get as big as possible to maximizing the amount of photosynthesis they can do. So I hope you found that interesting, or at least useful, and all the best until the next time.